Hello, I'm United States Senator Joe Manchin. Welcome to the Cutting the Red Tape, a series of informational sessions with the IRS, Social Security Administration, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and other federal and state agencies. I take great pride in helping constituents and families all across West Virginia. If you need assistance with a state or federal agency, please contact my office at 304-342-5855. My staff and I are always ready to help fellow West Virginians. Last year, 26,572 families contacted my office for help. As your United States Senator, it is my duty and honor to make sure that federal agencies are responsive to West Virginians. That's why I'm proud to be hosting this video series to help West Virginians learn how to better navigate their issues when dealing with government agencies. Today, we will be hearing from agency officials who will share helpful information and answer questions from West Virginians. Before we hear from them, I'd like to turn it over to my staff.
Thank you, Senator Manchin. Senator Manchin's main priority is to represent West Virginia, and that is why he values hearing from West Virginians. Each day, he keeps in touch with West Virginians by meeting with constituents, visiting various places in the state, listening to voicemails, reading emails and letters, and sending his staff to be there in his place when he has to be in Washington, D.C. Our staff motto is, "How may we help you?" Because the Senator expects us to give excellent customer service to all West Virginians who contact him. Senator Manchin has heard from many West Virginians regarding various programs that are provided through several state agencies. The Senator's Constituent Services team tries to provide the most up-to-date information to constituents. Today, we'd like to provide constituents direct access to officials of the state agencies for real-time, relevant information. I'd like to begin by introducing our agency representatives for today's webinar. Secretary of the Department of Transportation and Commissioner of the Division of Highways, Mr. Jimmy Wriston. Deputy Cabinet Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection, Mr. Scott Mandarola. West Virginia Insurance Commissioner, Mr. Alan McVeigh. Commissioner of the West Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles, Mr. Everett Frazier. Secretary of the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources, Mr. Bill Crouch. Commissioner of the West Virginia Bureau of Senior Services, Mr. Robert Roswell, and the Chairman of the West Virginia Public Service Commission, Ms. Charlotte Lane. Today, secretaries and commissioners will share pertinent information to constituents by providing agency contact information, trends that they are seeing in West Virginia, and information regarding how to navigate challenges. We will begin with Jimmy Wriston, Secretary of the Department of Transportation and Commissioner of the Division of Highways. Senator Manchin has heard mostly about pothole and culvert repair, as well as road paving requests from West Virginians. Can you share more information about these subjects and any other pertinent information that West Virginians need to know?
Certainly. First of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to Senator Manchin and all of his hardworking staff for including us in this opportunity to reach out and tell a little bit of our DOT story. But the potholes are a particular scourge on the roadways of West Virginia. They come every year, just like clockwork. They form over the winter. They're due to water seeping beneath the roadway surfaces and expansion and contraction of that water as it freezes and goes through a freeze-thaw cycle. If you're, they're not particularly only in West Virginia. Many states that go through this type of thing, but West Virginia is unique with our beautiful mountains and country roads that go through those river valleys and all of the great topography we have. But if you're driving on a road in Alaska, you don't see the potholes there because they go through one freeze-thaw cycle per year. In West Virginia, with our 4 beautiful seasons, we can 40 freeze-thaw cycles in a single season. We have embarked on taking care of those potholes to repair all of our potholes by Memorial Day. It's a lofty goal. It's an ambitious goal, but we're dedicated to do that. We've taken steps to make sure that every transportation worker in the state knows the proper way to do that. There is no more throw and go pothole repairs in West Virginia. We take care of them the right way by milling them, tacking the holes, clearing them out really good, putting the good material in there, compacting it, nice square potholes. So the repairs are working. It's getting our roadways ready to pave when the weather gets warm and we can really get after taking care of getting a good surface on the road, because we've taken care of those holes and kept people from having the expenses of front end alignments, flat tires. This is important to people, probably our number one complaint, and we're focused on it. Like I said, a very ambitious goal of getting all of these repaired by Memorial Day each and every year.
Next, we welcome Deputy Cabinet Secretary Scott Mandarola from the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. Senator Manchin has heard a lot about recovering abandoned mine land from West Virginians. Can you share more information about recovering abandoned mine land and any other pertinent information that West Virginians need to know?
Thank you very much for the question, Marianne. The Abandoned Mine Lands program focuses on improving the environment and improving the waterways for the citizens in the state by dealing with acid mine drainage and other issues associated with pre-law mining features. We do this in two specific ways. Our program has an emergency response group that deals with emergencies associated with subsidence, landslides, blowouts, any other AML features that may cause an emergency for the citizens of the state. The second way is through the revitalization of dead streams from acid mine drainage. That's more of a long-term program. So as an example of emergency response, the town of Smithers had a landslide that was caused by a down dip pre-law mine and a blowout that occurred, which essentially saturated the soil and caused that landslide. That landslide blocked the main access road to a large section of the community. Through the emergency response procedure, we can contract immediately with vendors that can go out and open the road and then work with them through the emergency funding to come up with emergency repairs, construct retaining walls, excavate the material, and permanently fix both the mine seal and the landslide. So none of that will occur in the future. The second approach is more of a long-term approach, the revitalization of dead streams from acid mine drainage. Acid mine drainage causes hundreds of miles of streams in the state to be essentially void of aquatic life. There's three main approaches that we take when we're dealing with acid mine drainage. The easiest and least maintenance intensive would be something like limestone sands, placing limestone sands in the headwaters of streams. Middle Fork Creek is a good example of this. Every time it rains, some of that sandstone or limestone is washed into the stream, increases the pH in the stream, and neutralizes the acid from the acid mine drainage of pre-law. We can do that relatively simple. You dump a few loads of the sand in the watershed and it does its work pretty much all by itself. A little more intensive would be the installation of dosers. We've done this in Three Forks Creek, and by strategically placing dosers where the heaviest loads of the acid entering the streams are, we're able to increase the pH, restore the aquatic life for hundreds of miles of stream in that Three Forks drainage. Even more intensive as far as operation and maintenance would be a facility such as the TNT treatment plant. The TNT mine was a pre-law mine. It discharges a tremendous amount of low pH water, high metals water into Muddy Creek. Our engineers designed and constructed a wastewater treatment plant that's placed at the outlet of the TNT mine. That water goes straight into that treatment plant. But in conjunction with that, we also collected all of the main AML loads from further up the watershed, piped them to that treatment facility. And now all that water is discharged back into Muddy Creek, meeting water quality standards. What this has done is remove the main load of acid from the stream and now has opened up 13 miles of the Muddy Creek drainage and connects it from the headwaters all the way to the mouth at the Cheat River. This has allowed all of that to maintain aquatic life, and to the point where we're even seeing walleyes coming up from the Cheat River and spawning in that area, which we haven't seen in 50 years, since pre-77.
Thank you. Next, we welcome Commissioner Alan McVeigh from the West Virginia Insurance Commission. Senator Manchin has heard a lot about state black lung benefits from West Virginians. Can you share more information about state black lung benefits and any other pertinent information that West Virginians need to know?
Certainly, and thank you, Mary. And hello, I'm Alan McVeigh, the West Virginia Insurance Commissioner. I'm happy to be participating in this event today. West Virginia's workers' compensation system for occupational pneumoconiosis, or black lung disease, allows eligible West Virginia employees who have been exposed to hazardous levels of dust in the workplace to file a claim for benefits. Our system provides that this claim should be filed within 3 years from and after the last day of the last continuous period of 60 days or more during which the employee was exposed, or within 3 years from and after a diagnosed impairment was made by a physician. In the case of death, the application also can be filed by the dependent of the employee within 2 years from and after the employee's death. West Virginia is unique in that we offer an objective evaluation group of physicians known as the Occupational Pneumoconiosis Board, who evaluates each claimant who files for these in our state. All timely filed claims who meet the exposure requirements are referred to the OP board for pulmonary testing to determine if they have permanent respiratory impairment due to dust exposure. If the claimant is found to have impairment by the OP board, a decision is issued that grants permanent partial disability representative of that impairment with associated medical benefits. Permanent partial benefits can go up to 65%, and claimants can also petition for a permanent total disability award to their occupational pneumoconiosis in cases of profound disability. Medical treatment is contingent on the amount of the impairment that's found. Eligible survivors of West Virginia employees may also file for West Virginia state occupational benefits. In these cases, the OP board refused medical information and will issue a determination as to whether or not occupational disease was a materially contributing factor to their death. West Virginia state black lung benefits represent a tiered system based on the impairment due to dust disease. This allows workers with mild impairment to receive some payment. If a worker is found to be entitled for both state and federal programs, there are offset provisions applied pursuant to federal regulations. Many West Virginia employees have filed both types of claims, and the benefits are coordinated between them to make sure the claimant receives the care and payments they are entitled to. That sounds like a complicated system, but the top priority of our agency is to assist consumers. If a consumer has any questions at all or needs assistance related to this or any other type of insurance, I encourage them to contact our team and we will provide assistance. We can be reached toll-free at 888-879-9842. We also have a lot of information on our webpage to assist consumers, and they can visit our webpage at wvinsurance.gov. Thank you to Senator Manchin and his staff for allowing me to participate in this event and provide information about assistance with insurance issues for our good citizens.
Thank you. Next, we welcome Commissioner Everett Frazier from the West Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles. Senator Manchin has heard a lot about renewing driver's licenses from West Virginians. Can you share more information on how to renew a driver's license and any other pertinent information that West Virginians need to know?
First of all, I'd like to thank Senator Manchin and his staff for inviting the West Virginia DMV to be a part of this forum. Renewing a driver's license has never been easier to accomplish, whether you choose to do it online or visit one of our 12 kiosks throughout the state. or simply just walk into one of our 25 regional offices scattered throughout this great state of West Virginia. If you have no changes to the information on your current driver's license or your ID, you only need to bring your driver's license or ID number and any personal information to renew online or at one of the kiosks. If you wish to renew in one of our regional offices, you will need the following. If you have no changes since your last driver's license or ID issuance, you will only need to provide your current driver's license or ID or an application for driver's license or identification card, which can be found on our website or can be picked up at one of the regional offices. If you have changes, you will need to provide proof of those changes, and those include you'll need to provide 2 proofs of new physical address. You will need to provide the legal document granting you the use of a new name, as if you get married. If you wish to upgrade to a real ID during your renewal, you will need to bring your birth certificate, any required legal name change documents, 2 proofs of physical address, if it's been changed since your last driver's license or ID issuance. And again, you may walk into any of our regional offices or go online to make an appointment at any of them. I want to remind everyone, Real ID is set to go in effect May of 2023 now. So everybody get that, and let's get 100% in the state of West Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we welcome Secretary Bill Crouch from the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources. Senator Manchin has heard a lot about the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program from West Virginians. Can you tell us more about this program and any other pertinent information that West Virginians need to know?
Yes, I'm Bill Crouch. I want to thank Senator Manchin for his support for DHHR and for the state. He is always there when we need him. So thank you, Senator. The low income energy assistance program is operated by DHHR. That is a program that assists families in home energy bills and heating crises for low income households. This is called the LEAP program, LIEAP. LEAP provides financial assistance to eligible residents to assist in paying heating costs. The program is designed to partially offset heating costs during the winter season. So this is a seasonal program. It's subject to closure depending upon the funds that are available. The program is made up of 2 components. One is the regular low-income energy assistance program. The other is the emergency low-income energy assistance program. The regular LEAP program provides households with the cost of home heating through direct cash payments or direct payments to utility companies on behalf of the household. The emergency LEAP program is a crisis program available to households without resources facing the cost of no heating source. To be eligible for these programs, those are determined by household size, income, vulnerability, residence, and citizenship. Income that is excluded this year includes Social Security Administration and Supplemental Security Income Veterans Benefits. LEAP helps thousands of people in West Virginia. We assisted over 58,000 people this year in West Virginia with this program, over 2,800 people with the emergency program. So over 61,000 individuals in West Virginia households have been helped with this program. Any household may apply for regular low-income energy assistance at the local DHHR office or online at wvpath.org or wvpath.org. The emergency low-income energy assistance applications must be made in person through local DHHR offices. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we welcome Commissioner Robert Roswell from the West Virginia Bureau of Senior Services. Senator Manchin has heard a lot about securing at-home healthcare assistance from West Virginians. Can you share more information about at-home healthcare assistance and any other pertinent information that West Virginians need to know.
Thank you. I'm Commissioner Robert Roswell. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about the services provided by the Bureau of Senior Services and all of our staff throughout the counties of West Virginia. We have 2 in-home service programs that are funded by the West Virginia Lottery. Those programs are the Lighthouse Program and the FAIR Program. The Lighthouse Program is a personal care program that provides in-home personal care to seniors 60 years of age with some deficiencies in their activities of daily living. There is a suggested donation for the Lighthouse Program. Those funds donated provide additional services to additional seniors throughout West Virginia. Those services are specified to be 1/3 housekeeping services, but 2/3 of those services are personal care services. There's a maximum of 40 hours a month in services. The second one is the FAIR program, which is Family Alzheimer's in-home respite. Both in-home respite, and we also have some congregate respite programs throughout the state. In this program, the client is the caregiver. This is the individual that's taking care of the client that has dementia or another instance of some type of brain injury type of thing. This allows them to get a break. It allows them to go out to the grocery store, go out golfing, go out in the yard, or whatever, gives them that chance to relax and rewind. It also has a suggested donation. And again, those funds go back to provide additional services to more seniors in West Virginia. In the last year, we provide over 800,000 units of services through those 2 programs. The next program we have is the Older Americans Act. These are our federal administration on community living programs funds. The services provided in home in that program include, again, personal care, housekeeping, home delivered meals, and some chore services. Housekeeping in this is the cleaning of the home where the individual senior lives in those homes. And chore services are those services where we may do lawn care, shoveling snow, heavy lifting type things. And that one has a confidential donation. The Bureau also works with the Bureau of Medical Services in the administration of some of the age and disabled waiver programs. That program provides care, in-home care again. It has a financial eligibility and an eligibility based upon 5 areas of deficiencies in the activities of daily living. Financially, the program has a requirement in both assets and that the income is less than 300% of the Social Security supplemental income. That program has 2 factions to it, 2 options. One of them is the individual provider agency. The provider agency hires the staff, trains the staff, pays the staff, and it allows them to do services such as in-home personal care, transportation to essential errands such as groceries, pharmacy, banks, and also allows that person to stay independent in their home in the community. It also allows some transportation in community time, which allows a senior to go out to a restaurant or go out to a mall or shopping, gets them out of their home, meets their neighbors, and allows them to be in a community and away from isolation. One of the other 2 programs that options within that program is the personal option of partnership with public partnership, where there is an agency where the senior themselves can decide what their services are, not relying on an independent agency. That agency hires a worker that the client may have in mind. They hire the worker, they administer that program on behalf of the senior, and they select and hire that worker and take care of all those responsibilities on behalf of that senior. Both of those programs are available and is an option to the senior, and both of those programs have case management services available. For additional information on any of these programs that I've mentioned, you can call the Bureau at 304-558-3317, or you can visit our website that is wvseniorservices.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we welcome Chairman Charlotte Lane from the West Virginia Public Service Commission. Senator Manchin has heard a lot about utility terminations from West Virginians. Can you share more information about how West Virginians can go about requesting assistance with utility terminations and any other pertinent information that West Virginians should know?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this forum. Unfortunately, many West Virginians struggle with utility bills. The first thing a customer needs to do when they receive a termination notice from their utility company is to contact West Virginia 211 to see what financial assistance may be available to them. Just dial 211 on your phone and you will be automatically connected with someone who can assist you. They should also contact their local WVDHHR office to apply for assistance such as LIHEAP. For renters who are struggling to pay for rent or utility bills because of financial hardship during the pandemic or due to the coronavirus, you may be eligible for the West Virginia Rental Assistance Program through the West Virginia Housing Development Fund. Detailed information, including eligibility requirements, are on the West Virginia Housing Development Fund's website. Next, the customer should contact their utility company. Let them know they are having problems paying their bill and need assistance. They should ask the utility about setting up a deferred payment plan. If, after speaking with the utility, the customer is still in danger of service termination, they should call the Public Service Commission at 1-800-642-8544. That's 1-800-642-8544. We have a team of consumer affairs technicians who will act as a liaison between the customer and utility company to try to help work out a solution to avoid termination.
Thank you to all the agency representatives. In an effort to ensure West Virginians' questions are being answered, we have invited delegates and senators for the West Virginia State Legislature to participate in our discussion. Each of them work with constituents in our state and have a really good understanding of the needs that occur within our state. With that being said, I'd like to share the platform with my colleague, Andrew Robinson, who actively interacts with the West Virginia State Legislature to welcome our West Virginia senators and delegates.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad to be here to facilitate the question and answers with our legislators who are hearing from West Virginians daily. Allow me to introduce our legislators. First, we have the Honorable Senator Jack David Woodrum of Summers County, the Honorable Delegate Lisa Zukoff of Marshall County, the Honorable Senator Glenn Jeffries of Putnam County, and the Honorable Delegate Joe Statler of Monongalia County. The senators and delegates have prepared various questions prompted by the trends in which most West Virginians have contacted their offices requesting assistance. Now, Delegate Statler, West Virginia Insurance Commissioner Alan McVeigh just spoke to us. And what concerns are you hearing from West Virginians regarding the West Virginia Insurance Commission?
Thank you, Andrew. And I'd like to first start off by thanking Senator Manchin and the staff for this wonderful opportunity to bring these questions to you. If a constituent has worked in the coal industry at one point in their career and eventually pursued another professional opportunity in a different industry, can this person still apply for Black Lung benefits?
I will be happy to answer that question for you, Delegate Statler, and it's good to see you. Our system provides that a claim should be filed within 3 years from and after the last day of the last continuous period of 60 days or more during which an employee was exposed, or within 3 years from and after a diagnosed impairment was made by a physician. And those are the trigger points for claims, so they can be filed after someone leaves the industry. Also, in the case of death, an application can be filed by the dependent of the employee within 2 years from and after the employee's death. So yes, an employee can leave the mining industry, go to another occupation, and still be able to file claims for these benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for this answer.
Senator Woodrum, we just heard from Commissioner Frazier from the Division of Motor Vehicles. What concerns are you hearing from West Virginians regarding the Division of Motor Vehicles?
Well, first, let me start by thanking Senator Manchin for making it possible for us to ask these questions for our constituents. Commissioner, during the COVID-19 pandemic, new policies and procedures were implemented because of restricted facility access. Did you find that some of these policies provided a better customer experience? And if so, do you plan to retain these customer-friendly policies as you resume normal operations?
Thank you, Senator Woodrum. That's a great question. In order to reopen and provide service to our citizens, we had to make adjustments to the operation in all of our regional offices. First, we initiated an appointment system to be able to control the flow and the amount of customers in our offices when the pandemic was at its peak. We installed plexiglass for the safety of both our employees and our guests coming into the offices. We provided contactless skills test exams to allow citizens to be able to get their needed driver's license. We were one of the first states to resume skills testing and even lent a lot of guidance to other jurisdictions as how this was accomplished. We reestablished the call center to be able to offer services over the phone for our customers. We implemented online driver's license knowledge testing, and we implemented the electronic titling system. We have kept many of these changes, such as plexiglass and the appointment system. The appointment system is still in many of our offices, but all of our regional offices welcome walk-ins. If needed, again, we will be able to temporarily suspend walk-ins and still remain operational with the appointments only and not have to close any of our offices. The plexiglass remains and will be a staple in all of our new offices we build going forward. We resumed having examiners in the vehicles with the tester to comply with AMBER requirements and best practices. But should there ever be a need, we can revert back to that contactless skills testing temporarily or as long as we need to. The call center will remain operational, and we will continue to expand services it can offer to our citizens. The online knowledge test, which I'm very proud of, is still available and even has been rolled out in the state school system. We will continue with electronic titling system and on our way to being the first state in the nation to offer digital titling.
Commissioner, thank you for providing this information.
Delegate Zukoff, we just heard from Secretary Crouch from the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources. What concerns are you hearing from West Virginians regarding the DHHR?
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to Senator Manchin and his staff for hosting us today. It's great to be able to ask questions that our constituents ask us. For our Secretary Crouch, for our constituents who are dealing with child custody issues, what services does your agency offer that can assist family members stay connected during times of transition?
Thank you, Delegate Zukoff. Taking care of our children is the most difficult thing we do in the state and the most important thing we do in the state. I want to thank our foster families out there and our kinship families and our adoptive parents out there who've stepped up and do a great job. Our responsibility to them is try to provide support to them to make sure they have what they need to have a smooth transition with their families. So we do provide what we call social necessary skills. We provide transportation. We provide parenting skills out there. These socially necessary services are available to all of these families. We also provide mental health services to families and to children who need those, as well as TANF payments for families who meet those criteria to make sure they have additional funding excuse me, for their new families. We also, probably the most important thing is we have a kinship navigator who can assist families, new families, in going through the system and getting the care they need. We're very focused on trying to make sure that these families have what they need, because they have stepped up in a way that is so important for our children in the state. We also, one other final thing is we provide support to try to keep children safe as well through various programs, Medicaid programs, Bureau of Social Services, who all work together to try to keep these children protected and safe. So we thank the families. Thank you for your question, Delegate Zukoff.
Thank you, Secretary Crouch, and thank you to your staff. They have a really difficult job to do every day, and we appreciate the service they provide to our West Virginia families.
Thank you for that.
Senator Glenn Jeffries, we've just heard from Secretary Jimmy Wriston from the West Virginia Division of Highways. What are you hearing from West Virginians in your area about the DOH?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Senator Manchin and his office for hosting and allowing us to participate in this forum. Mr. Secretary, core maintenance has become a commonly used phrase by the Department of Highways. Can you explain what core maintenance entails and why it is important?
Thank you, Senator Jeffries, for the question. It's a great question. It's a question that goes to the very heart of who we are with the Division of Highways. All those men and women out there that work each and every day on those core maintenance activities are working to extend the life of our roadways, to get them in good condition and keep them that way. These activities are designed to get the water away from the road. If we can take care of the things that deteriorate the roadways, then we will obviously extend the life of these roadways. All of these activities, from patching the potholes to pulling the ditches, to stabilizing the shoulders, to cutting the canopy back so that the roadways can experience a wet and dry cycle. These things are critical to the life of our roadways and to keep them in the condition that our citizens not only want, but they deserve. These things are worked on very diligently by the men and women in the Division of Highways. They're planned activities. All of these plans are on our website. We show our plan. We show how much of this we accomplish. Our goal is to complete these plans in 1 3-year cycle to take care of every one of these activities for our entire roadway system that happens to be the 6th largest highway system in the country. We're also one of 4 states that take care of all the roadways in West Virginia, in our state. So West Virginia we've got a big job here, and we've got really good people working really hard to do it. And those core activities has taken us back to our roots, to where we can extend the life and get those 36,000 miles of roadway ready to pave. And once they're paved, that pavement will last a great deal longer than we've seen in the past. The underinvestment that we've seen in infrastructure across the country has shown up in the quality of our roadway, and the citizens have noticed. I think they're starting to notice that the core activities that we're performing are making a difference. We experienced many, many floods in West Virginia. We're seeing less and less damage from those flooded areas, in particular the isolated floods, where we really get hit hard in a really lot of rain in a very short period of time. By having those ditches full where they can handle that runoff, by having the pipes replaced and in good shape, having those canopies cut back to where that water can get away from the roadway and go to where it belongs, is certainly saving the state tons of money. I hope that answers your question, but this is who we are. The Division of Highways, first and foremost, is a maintenance organization.
Senator Woodrum, we heard from Commissioner Roswell about hot topics and all the programs that are available in the Bureau of Senior Services. What have you been hearing from West Virginians regarding the Bureau of Senior Services?
Thank you. The West Virginia Bureau of Senior Services operates the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, which is commonly known as SHIP, that is designed to provide up-to-date information to Medicare beneficiaries and their families. Commissioner, can you describe what kind of services and information you provide through the State Health Insurance Assistance Program to Medicare beneficiaries and their families?
Yes, Senator Woodrum, appreciate the opportunity to give you more information available for your constituents. It does stand for the State Health Insurance Assistance Program. It is a program administered by the Community Living Administration of and part of the ACL. The objective is to provide confidential help and free of an objective to beneficiaries of Medicare and their families. It includes one-on-one assistance and outreach out into the community. The purpose is to empower the seniors and Medicare recipients, educate and assist the individuals and their families and their caregivers to make informed decisions about health care and to optimize and maximize the benefits available to them. There are counselors throughout West Virginia. The state provides support to Medicare beneficiaries, helping them become eligible for Medicare, as well as understanding how Medicare works with other insurances, such as employer insurance, Medicaid coverage, and learn what Medicare options are available. SHIP also helps to screen for low-income assistance programs and to help Medicare costs and works to resolve problems on behalf of the beneficiary and their Medicare coverage. And that working to solve problems is a big part of what we do, not just getting them on the programs and eligibility. SHIP counselors also receive training from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the Administration for Community Living. Our counselors are both paid counselors, staff of the Bureau, in-kind counselors, and we also have volunteer counselors. We can provide you additional information on SHIP by contacting our toll-free number at 1-877-4463, or you can contact the local senior center who also has SHIP counselors. And we also have the Aging Disability Resource Centers, and you can contact them by online at wbnavigate.com. I hope that helps you with your questions.
Commissioner, thank you for providing us this very important information.
Delegate Zukoff, we heard from Chairwoman Charlotte Lane from the West Virginia Public Service Commission. What have you been hearing from your constituents regarding the Public Service Commission?
As you know, rural areas across the state of West Virginia lack cell phone service. What recommendations do you have for constituents who need emergency services when frontier landline services are not available?
Thank you, Delegate Zukoff. This keeps me up at night. I wish I had an easy answer. People living in rural West Virginia often don't have cell phone service at their homes. When their landline phone service goes out, they have absolutely no other option other than to get in their car and drive miles to wherever they can pick up a cell signal. When the call they need to make is to emergency medical services, every second counts. This is not acceptable. That is why the Public Service Commission has continued to demand that Frontier reinvest in their copper network and maintain service to rural West Virginia. We have told the company these continued extended outages must stop. Lives depend on it. Frontier's investment in building out its fiber network and expanding high-speed internet is important, but we cannot allow them to continue to shortchange our rural customers.
Thank you so much. And thanks for the help that your agency gives us all the time for these type of issues. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Delegate Statler, we heard from Deputy Secretary Scott Mandarola from the Department of Environmental Protection. What have you been hearing from your constituents regarding the DEP?
Thank you, Andrew. When looking to implement infrastructure tactics such as the road projects, permits are required to be obtained through the DEP before a project is to be initiated. What is the time period for these permits to be processed?
Thank you, Delegate, for that important question. timeframes are a very big concern for us, particularly for the infrastructure money, because the last thing we want as an agency is for our permits to hold up or stop the spending of infrastructure money. The main permits that are required for things like road projects, sewer line projects are going to be stormwater construction permits. And currently, if you're disturbing more than 1 acre, and the time period for the construction is less than 1 year, and you're not disturbing over 100 acres, then it's a 45 to 90 day timeframe to issue that stormwater construction permit, because it would not need to go out to public notice. If you're disturbing more than 100 acres, or it's going to take more than 1 year, which most of these infrastructure projects would be in the latter category, then issuance of those permits is statutorily determined to be no more than 180 days. Depending on how complicated in nature the permit is, we often get them out before that, but we have to get them out within 180 days. The other type of certification or permit that the agency needs to issue for these type of projects would be called a 401 water quality certification. Now, this is a state certification that's required to go along with a Corps of Engineers 404 permit if there is work that's going to be done somewhere in a water of the US. And often bridge projects, road projects would be crossing streams, so they would be involved in that. Now, the Corps of Engineers has determined that a reasonable period of time to issue these certifications for the state is 60 days. They often will extend that to 180 days, but more typically, we are trying to issue these within 60-day timeframe. Again, the last thing we want to do is slow down the spending of infrastructure money. It's very important to us as an agency not to be the cause of any money being left on the table for the state of West Virginia. Thank you again for your question.
Thank you very much for the answer on this important issue.
Senator Glenn Jeffries, Secretary Crouch has provided helpful information regarding his agency. What additional questions do you have for the Secretary?
Thank you, Andrew. Mr. Secretary, I routinely receive phone calls from worried family members, even citizens suffering from substance abuse, needing help. As everyone knows, West Virginia is ranked #1 in issues dealing with substance abuse and has been for a number of years now. As a state, we have tried almost everything with some support from the federal government. However, I believe it's time we try everything, every new program, every new idea, every new model that the federal government believes could work to address recovery, reentry, generally getting people back on their feet. Can you explain what programs, models, or ideas you have which would be implemented in West Virginia to address this crisis?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Jeffries. This is a huge priority for DHHR for the state of West Virginia. In 2017, we were #1 in the country per capita in overdose deaths. The legislature, we submitted a piece of legislation to create the Office of Drug Control Policy in 2017 and began a real concerted effort to tackle this problem. The following year, our overdose deaths reduced by 22%. The year after that, our overdose deaths reduced 13%. Then the pandemic hit, and the isolation and the lack of support systems out there for individuals who had substance use disorder problems was significant. Overdose deaths soared across the country and in West Virginia. We are, I believe, now back on track and attempting to follow, as you said, all of the best practices out there throughout the country. One of the things that the legislature did is, and they've been a great partner with us, is to create the Ryan Brown Fund, which was done by the legislature to provide funding to direct funding to increase the number of treatment beds in the state of West Virginia. We now have over 1,200 treatment beds in the state. We've also increased recovery beds in the state, where we have the ability to move folks from treatment into recovery and then into outpatient services. First thing we have to do to reduce overdose deaths is provide naloxone throughout the state. And we have done that, pushed millions of dollars of naloxone out to our first responders out there and our providers and our folks at the local level. We've created quick response teams which go out to homes for individuals who have overdosed and convince them, and that takes some time, to get into a treatment program. That's becoming much broader throughout the state. I believe we're in 35 counties now. We're pushing that very hard. That is showing a great success as well. We have LEAD programs, law enforcement diversion programs, where we get people into treatment as quickly as possible. We have a regional Office of Drug Control Policy staff to help these folks who overdose and to go out and to try to reduce these numbers. Another thing the legislature did was develop treatment courts that we are seeing as huge with regard to another way to deal with this problem throughout the state. And finally, one of the things I'm really proud of is we're assisting a program called Game Changers to try to go into schools and make sure our children don't start drugs and that they understand the complications with that and the outcomes related to that. So we're really looking at education here with regard to our children and trying to make sure we fix this problem in West Virginia. So we are tackling this from every angle possible, and we're actually seeing some good results in terms of leveling off of some of these numbers in West Virginia right now versus the national level. So thank you for the question, Senator Jeffries. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for answering that question. Wow, thank you to all the West Virginia delegates and senators that participated in this informational session with Senator Manchin today. Thank you very much.
Andrew, thank you for co-hosting with me. Delegates, senators, and state agency officials, thank you for joining us today. You have all provided such helpful information. Now, back to you, Senator.
Thank you to everyone for joining us today. I hope you will join me next time for the next installment of this video series. Follow my Facebook page or subscribe to my newsletter on my website, www.manchin.senate.gov, to stay up to date on upcoming events. And again, if you need assistance with a state or federal agency, please contact my office at 304-342-5855. My staff and I are always ready to help every West Virginian. Thank you.